name is Bojan Furst. I'm a geographer and a photographer, and today I sweetly get to be both at the same time, which is usually not the case. And I want to change the way you think about this place. Most of you believe that you live on an island, I suspect. You do, right? Well, you don't. You do live on an island, but not really. And if you work for the government or for a provincial organization, the sooner you figure this out, the better off we're all going to be. You live in an archipelago. And it's really important that you grasp this, because it will change the way how you think about everything else. Newfoundland is an archipelago of about 7,000 islands. And there used to be about 100 or so permanently inhabited. We don't know how many, because since an Italian who pretended to be a British came over here in 1497, we've been pretending to live on one island, which we don't. We live in an archipelago. And today we have about dozen islands that are still permanently populated. Most of you can't name them, and most of you haven't been to any of them except the one that we are on now. And you're missing on a lot, and none of the stuff that you are missing on is actually those provincial ads. So about those ads. If you talk to people here in town, and I did that, I asked, they'll tell you that islands and the outports are at the heart of what it means to be a Newfoundlander. And that's great. So why do you treat them so poorly? I've been told that it's okay to treat them poorly because people in places like Fog Island, Change Islands, have identity and authenticity, and they do. And we use that identity really poorly. We package it, we put a bow on it, and we sell it to mainlanders and to ourselves. Geographer Michael Bunce calls that leisuring of rural landscapes. Writer Tim Robinson calls it the material destructiveness of modern life. And islanders are complicit in it, because if a mainlander wants to come and take a ride in a punt with a make-and-break engine, hey, why not? But there is a price to pay for that kind of neglect, as well as use, abuse, and complicity. And it manifests itself in various ways. Somebody of Fog Island told me that there are 6 funerals away from not knowing how to build a punt. And in Change Islands, they tell me that the school system is great, except it's educating kids to leave and not to stay. And of course, and it's also insane that you can't buy fresh fish on Fog Island, and that if you are a fisherman on Change Islands, you have to spend hours every year driving to Gander and Lewisports to get your fishing license and your boat license because you're a fisherman, even though you have high-speed internet access. And of course, it doesn't have to be that way. And of course, it's not about wooden punts. It's about particular kind of tacit knowledge that in it carries particular kind of ingenuity. And that knowledge is something I suspect we are going to really need a lot. And that's why I think we have to start thinking with archipelagos instead of islands in our head. So what are we going to gain if we start doing that? Well, first of all, let's stop thinking about islands as drains on our provincial coffers. Island scholar Guthrie Baldacchino writes that islands call for recognition and celebration as experimental sites. And I think that's nowhere more true than in Newfoundland. Right now in Ramia, we are running one of the most advanced energy self-sufficiency projects in the world. Fog Island has pioneered public education in this province. FOGO process was the most innovative social research and engagement project of its time. There is now, and the islanders are starting to think in these archipelagic terms. So there is now Fog Island, Change Islands agricultural co-op that's struggling, but it's moving in the right direction. And on Change Islands, they completely revamped what municipal governance looks like. And that's the beauty of an archipelagic approach. You can experiment with things. You can fail safely. And if it works, you can scale it up. And there are systems that benefit from distributed design. Those are systems around food security, energy, because we don't have to be dependent on one power plant and on one farm. So how do we get there? Well, everybody does his or her part, right? Islanders are trying, but they do have to dial their local patriotism and start to work together better. They have to connect with other islands around the world, not just around the Newfoundland. And they have all sorts of options how to do that. Can Fogo Island learn something from Ramia? Sure. Can Change Islands learn something from Croatian islands? I think so. What is Indonesia doing? What about Japan and Scandinavia? Can we learn something from them? Shetland Islands have rewritten the book on development and local financing from energy projects. Can we learn something from that? Provincial and federal governments in Canada have done a great disservice to islands in Newfoundland. But I think they can fix that. Because I think the job is to create policies that enable everybody, that should enable everybody in this province to succeed, no matter where they live. And instead, one policymaker told me that the government can't quite collaborate in the way people outside feel the government should. Tough. Change the way you work. And build capacity in small places. Allow them to experiment with new models of governance, new models of development, open up energy and food systems. Memorial universities should make as many classes as possible available for free online. We have a fantastic network of schools across this province that have broadband access, fabulous facilities that are sitting empty for most of the day. Make them hubs of learning. In Croatia, there is something called Islands Act. It's not perfect, but it aims to enable innovation and experimentation on islands. It's progressive, empowering, and it puts islands in charge of their own development. We live in the most prosperous time in history. I think we can certainly enable Newfoundlanders to build on that ingenuity that we say was at the heart of being